episode 112, Hiring an Associate via the Remarkable Practice. I'm your host, Dr. Justin Schroes-Claire. Today, we're Dr. Stephen Franson Perspective.
Join 2017 and 2018 Podcast Awards nominated host as we get a behind-the-curtain look at all types of doctors and guest specialties. Let's hear a doctor's perspective.
Great to have you tuning in again. Really love the energy from the fans. I hope you enjoyed the top 10 of 2018. That's at doctorperspective.net/top2018. You can see who is the top 10 plus a runner-up. We got all kind of countries and people. Really excited for that. Hope you like it. Guess what? My little sweet Asian Cajun baby just learned how to roll over. Let me tell you, parents tell you how cool it is. It really is. You know, the good news is it's my kid, so I care. And that's the difference. So anyway, that was cool stuff. Good to see her growing, being more vocal, laughing. Real pleasure, real treat to be with. As I mentioned before, parents are having a good time here in China during the new year, exploring new food, experiencing a different culture celebration, including the Lantern Festival. If you follow me on Instagram, you've been seeing some pictures of that. Now look, let's get to the show. Dr. Stephen Franson is the remarkablepractice.com guy. He teaches systems in the office for doctors, clinical outcomes, patient education, teaches you how to be remarkable in your family life as well. One of the two things we talk about a lot today is going to be staff. That way you can get the best staff member possible to grow your practice, to make patients happy. Also, hiring an associate from the doctor's point of view and from the associate's point of view. Because, hey, everybody wants to have a win-win-win situation. So we try to figure that out. We don't go too much into marketing in this episode, but we do talk about retention. You know, that's a good way to grow a practice. Not just have that revolving door where your patients always leave and you're always searching for that new patient. And at the end, he's a big believer, just like this show is. What's the point of having the best practice ever if you're on your third marriage and you never see your kids? So we discuss how to have communication and core values in your family that you can reevaluate so that there's harmony in the family. I think you're going to like the episode. There's definitely some things you can learn. Show notes can be found at doctorsperspective.net/112. Let's go. Hashtag behind the curtain. Live from Louisiana and New Hampshire/Boston, we got a great guest today. He is going to make you think about your operations of your business and in 4 different ways. He has all these different immersion programs, a body signals program. So pretty much he's going to whoop you into shape. That's his goal. All right. His company is called theremarkablepractice.com. He's been a doctor for a long time. Please welcome Dr. Stephen Franson. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Dr. Justin. It's great to be here.
All right. Well, we were ကျhatting. I saw, got on your email list at some point, and that's how that goes. And at some point you get something, you're like, well, that's really an interesting concept that you have here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in China usually, so it's kind of hard for me to pay for certain types of coaching these days. But then when I see something, I'm like, wait, I got a podcast. I need to pick this guy's brain a little bit. If it interests me, it's probably going to interest somebody else on the show.
Right on. I'm glad you asked me.
So let's do the classic, a little bit about your background, how you can transition from being just like a doctor to doing more of like a coaching and that aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. So 30,000 feet. I've been a chiropractor for 25 years now. I'm actually I'm married to my chiropractor. My wife is a chiropractor as well. In fact, we have 7 chiropractors in my family. Both her sisters are chiropractors. Both of them are married to chiropractors. My brother's married to a chiropractor. So we always joke and say we're the chiropractic Cosa Nostra. So we practice in Boston for almost 22 years after doing an internship in Arkansas and a residency or associateship in Virginia. Opened up our practice in Boston. We built one of the biggest wellness-oriented corrective care chiropractic offices in the world. So we were blessed with great success, and whatever success we enjoyed, I'll attribute it to a commitment to the chiropractic principle, teaching people the wellness lifestyle to get great results, really driven by clinical outcomes. That's what we're all about. Patient education, empowering people as their coach to become healthier human beings, and creating systems for everything in the practice. I'm the systems guy, so everything has to be systematized, and then creating world-class teams. So it all comes down to the team you surround yourself with. In fact, I just got off a jet this morning, 2 a.m. So I'm not tired. I'm still flying, to be honest with you, because I've been teaching a create your own remarkable team immersion in Phoenix for the last for Friday, Saturday, and then into Sunday. So we had a couple 150 people in Phoenix learning how to create their own remarkable teams. So I'd credit a lot of the success we've enjoyed to the ability to attract and lead just phenomenal teams.
So what does that look like? Remarkable systems, remarkable Phoenix. Like what's like one or two little nuggets that we could have expected at that weekend to get us jazzed up?
Well, our overriding premise is that it's about creating a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one, right? So many quote unquote successful doctors out there can probably relate with the fact that everybody from the outside looks in and says, "Oh, you're busy, you're successful," but categorically they might be busy and successful in their business, but very often it's at the expense of their health and their marriage, knowing their kids, breaking down their bodies, maybe even financially breaking them.
Which is the point of the podcast. That's the avatar right there.
Exactly. And, so I've always said it's about having a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. At first pass, if you didn't know we were so purpose-driven and mission-driven, that could sound selfish, but it's not. It's the opposite of that. I believe what our patients really want and need is a doctor and a team that's excited to be there and serving them. A doctor and a team that's congruent and are healthy and energized and passionate. That's the most attractive force on the planet, right? So that's what really creates that extraordinary practice. And if you make sure that you keep life, I don't like to use the term balance, but fully integrated, so that you're living out your passion. You're running your practice the way you would love to run your practice. You have the hours that you would love. You take vacations. You leverage systems and communications and teams so that you can really run a huge practice that's a business and not own a job that owns you, right? So that big part of what we teach in the Remarkable Practice is how to create a business and not own a job.
Are you only cash practice? Do you deal with insurance-based practices as well? Is there any?
Yeah, we personally ran a cash practice. We had one of the biggest cash practices in the world, I believe. And ultimately, it comes down to creating value. People will pay for what they want, right? So money follows value. So it's all about creating extraordinary value for what it is you deliver. People are happy to pay for it. Most of the things in people's lives that they pay for, the insurance doesn't pay for. So they just buy the things they want. So you have to make what you do what they want.
Are you adjustments only type of cash practice, or do you do the rehab and all that other stuff?
Yeah, in our practice, we were focused on chiropractic and delivering the adjustment. Of course, we created this education program where we taught people the wellness lifestyle. It's called the Bonfire Health Program. So we would teach them about how healthy people eat, right? How healthy people move and how healthy people think. We made it very programmatic. That was called the Bonfire Health Program. But the practice itself, our practice itself, really focused on the chiropractic. It was the adjustment and educating the patients. But in the Remarkable Practice, man, we have all flavors of doctors. Doctors that do insurance, doctors that do primarily cash or primarily insurance. There's doctors who do ancillary services. There's integrated services. People do therapies and naturopaths, and they have massage therapists and acupuncturists, you name it. We had MDs at our event this weekend because everybody needs to learn how to build a remarkable team.
Now, when we're talking teams, so we're going to get a little nitty gritty. I got a couple of flavors here that we can go through.
Yeah, that's fine. Dig in.
What are we looking for in a staff member so that we can hire right the first time and not have to do the wheel of replacement?
That's a great question. That's really the theme of the weekend, this past weekend. So let me put the question back to you. How do I hire a football player?
Good resume skills, good interview skills. It's got to match in my opinion, it's got to match your culture, and you can train the person. Like if you find someone, say, here's my thought. I was at the grocery store the other day and I saw someone and we were talking and I was like, wow, this lady's really good at what she does. Like if I had my own clinic and I needed a position, I'd be like, wow, you want to take your skills and just come and do an interview, maybe get more money and help people on a bigger scale than, bagging groceries?
Yeah, I think there's a soft side to this as well. As chiropractors, and doctors in general, we're healers. We love to work with people, which means we love people. And most of us are terrible at hiring because we love everybody. And if we're doctors, we think we can fix anybody, right? So My football analogy, where I was going with that was there's lots of different types of football players, right? And if you're building out a team, if I were asking you to hire a football player, your first question would be, well, what position are we hiring for, right?
Okay, yeah, that's
Because
true.
you know that each position would call for a different set of responsibilities, which would call for a certain set of probably attributes like physical skills or physical qualities that would bode well for a given position on a football team. And we can appreciate that when we're trying to build out a football team. But it's funny, people kind of drop that knowledge when it goes to building out their business team, right? So the first thing you got to do is you got to recognize, what does my organization call for? In other words, what are the positions on my team? What are the roles on my team? And each one of those roles is unique. Even though they're small, these are small businesses, most of them. Most of them are 2, 3, 4, 5 people on a team. Even with a small team, you put people in different roles and you create specialists who are skilled and are hardwired to be awesome in that position. Your practice is going to be much, much, much more successful. Of course, I'm an advocate of cross training, so you create depth and durability in your team. But I believe God only makes geniuses. And as the CEO of our businesses, our first role is to figure out exactly what type of genius do I need in each one of these positions, and then make sure you're, as Jim Collins puts it, put the right butt in the right seat on your bus and develop them as human beings. Look around and say to yourself, first and foremost, do I have the right butts in the right seats? Do I have any gaps on my team and might speak to the next hire? And also a very important question, do I have a staph infection? In other words, is there somebody on my team that's not supposed to be there and we need to free them up to go do something else, whatever they're called to do?
Which we typically wait too long and it's poison the well, as they say. Because I'm thinking,
Absolutely.
First hire, they got to answer phones. They got to be able to fill do you take my insurance? Why would I see you? Those types of questions. But I'm thinking, at least when I was there, I also need them to set people up on eSTEM or be able to at least show some rehab if we get busy and they're capable, you know what I mean? Like they can do several jobs at once. Like that's how I look at my first hire. But is that kind of what you're looking for when you have that core person?
Yeah. When we're talking about coming off a Jump Street, which is that first hire, it's you and okay, I need one person. One of the most important things is self-awareness. You need to know yourself. You're like, okay, so if I'm an extroverted doctor and I'm going to be a natural big personality with lots of energy and be a natural promoter because I want to reach more people, help more people, and build my business, I might want to hire a more introverted, more details person to help me stay organized and structured, right? To kind of balance me out just a little bit. If I'm more of an introverted doctor who's more of a caregiver and just is focused on taking care of patients, you may consider bringing in a bigger personality, somebody who's more extroverted, who's more outgoing, and to create, a little more energy and some promotion into the practice, right?
I like that.
Again, there's never just a simple question. I like to say one number is a fact, 2 numbers are a story, right? So I always want to get the whole story.
Yeah.
So when doctors ask me, who should my first hire be? The answer for the first hire is sort of a Swiss Army knife. You got to put somebody up front who's going to be, they're going to be a person that is adaptable, right? Because they're going to have to wear a lot of hats. They've got to be somebody who's got a great work ethic, somebody who's higher energy, somebody who is able to not multi-focus, you can't do that, but multitask, right? And is usually somebody who loves to be busy. That's typically your first hire.
Okay.
Once you have the first hire in place, then you look and you say, okay, what's my next hire? And it's going to usually be a complement to the skill sets of the first hire.
Okay. And you as far as what you can do multiple doctors in a clinic. Can you do hiring associates or multiple locations? Are you versed in all of that, or what's your thing?
So we have doctors in different stages of the arc of a chiropractic career in our organization. So the remarkable practice typically we attract doctors who are looking for, number one, they want to take that job that they know they own or more likely owns them, right? So they want to take their job and turn it into a business, right? Which immediately implies I'm looking for scalability, durability, and eventually transferability, right? Scalability means I can do more, give more, love more, serve more, have a bigger impact, and make a bigger income, but it doesn't have to all be by a pound of my flesh and an hour of my time, right?
Yes.
Durability means that I can do more, give more, love more, serve more, make a bigger impact, make a bigger income, even in my absence. Like if I'm not there, maybe I've fixed my hours, so I'm home with my family sometimes, or I go on vacation, or I'm just out of that role. durability is a critical part of that. And then transferability implies one day I'm going to need to sell it, right? So either I'm going to have a successor that comes in and sells it, or I'm going to sell it on the marketplace. So durability, scalability, durability, transferability requires the systematization of everything and building out a team, and then committing to training and training up that team. So your question of, do we have doctors who have multiple doctors and associate doctors? Absolutely. We have 39 associate doctors in our practice over the years. So I have a training program where I train up these doctors and then launch them out into the world. Many of our remarkable practice doctors have multiple doctors inside their practice, either one associate or multiple associates. They have multiple other paraprofessionals, like I said. They might have a functional medicine expert or an acupuncturist or an MD working in their office in an integrated practice. Some doctors have 2, 3, 4, 5 clinics. Some of my clients have 50 or 70 clinics, right? So That's called an enterprise doctor, right? So you work with the whole gamut across, what I was describing as the arc of the career. The typical chiropractic care is the launch phase, which is when you're in school and in your first year where you don't know what's going on, you're just coming out. The second chapter, if you will, is the grind phase, which is your head down, bum up, and you're moving and shaking, building that practice, right? And then the next phase is the scale phase, which is where you're looking to scale and then add associate doctors, build out your team, et cetera. And then the final stage is the exit, right? It's the exit stage. It's like, who's going to take over and continue your legacy, and what's your exit strategy for this? So, we work with doctors across the whole spectrum.
Okay. So this is a kind of a one-sided and a second side. One, you're a doctor. They're looking to expand because they want to spend more time with their family. Maybe they're like 50. They're like, oh, I need to start exiting out of the clinic, or at least, like you said, hire somebody. How does a doctor know when they're ready for that? So to actually hire, and then as an associate looking to get a job, because I feel like there's a lot of chiropractors, they don't actually have the load to support an associate doctor correctly or financially, but they just don't want to be there anymore. And so you get, that they eat their young situation, and that's always horrible. But so any advice on an associate to appeal better to these doctors, or ways that they can say, okay, I'm commanding a higher salary or a better bonus structure or something like that, so that it's actually a win-win.
Yeah, well, you're asking the right guy. So I actually have a separate and distinct business. I have a partnership. We own a group called the Chiro Matchmakers. Because of my experience with all the associate doctors, we attract a lot of doctors looking to have us coach them on how to develop their associate doctor program for just that reason. They either want to create scalability, durability, or transferability. So this is a really, really tricky space, Justin. So unfortunately, 67% of associate doctor relationships fail, because most doctors go into it totally clueless. Let's be truthful. I love chiropractors. I love chiropractic. I love chiropractors. But so many of us got into chiropractic because we wanted to take good care of people. But you figure out by the time you're graduating that, oh my gosh, I signed up to be a chiropractor and an entrepreneur, a business owner, right? So those are two different things, and very often two different skill sets. So just like they kind of found themselves in as a business owner, not really knowing what they were doing, they'll find themselves in the same position with an associate doctor. That I don't know how to design an associate doctor program. I don't know how to interview. I don't know how to find an interview. I don't know how to onboard somebody. I don't know how to set expectations and agreements. How do I do a job description? Is everybody the same? How do I set key performance indicators, goals, and statistics, and bonus systems and compensation programs? I mean, it's a really, really confusing space that's, to be fair, landmines.
It can be very confusing instead of just some blanket, which is what they normally do, it seems like.
Yeah. I mean, what they do is they typically call their brother-in-law and say, hey, you're a chiropractor, you're an associate, will you fax me over the contract that you use? It's like, well, we're fresh out of fax machines and you're not supposed to do it that way. It's like, you can't just borrow somebody else's contract and stick it in and say, okay, good. So we got the non-compete here and we've got, your hours here, sign here. That's terrible. That's a terrible approach. Yeah, that's just not the way to do it. So we work very closely with doctors to make sure that they go through, basically 3 parts of a contract. The first is the legalese, which is, making sure that all the legal language is in there and to get that in there. Second is putting together those very important expectations and agreements so everybody understands, including the owning hiring doctor, what am I hiring this doctor to do? Yeah. Like, what would make me really happy to have them on my team, and I'd be very happy to pay them. right? So it has to be, the economics have to be right. So you have to go through the optics of like, what is this role? How are they going to add capacity or build this business? Or how are they going to create bandwidth or freedom, time freedom for me, depending on what the doctor's goals are as to why he's hiring a doctor, hiring an associate doctor. This has to be done right because that's going to inform the type of doctor you should be hiring. There's different avatars of doctors. We call them race cars, pickup trucks, and SUVs, right? There's different doctors that you should be hiring for different roles, and you're going to have to compensate them differently. A race car wants to be compensated differently than a pickup truck does, right? They're all worth their weight in gold as long as the model fits.
They're like, the doctor says, I'm seeing 200 a week or 300 a week. I want to get to 500 a week. I just need somebody to actually crack backs. And that's a different type of person than someone who's like, actually, I want to be a go-getter. I want to go out and market and crack backs. You know, there's like, is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, sorry, I'm going to have to just throw up in my mouth a little bit when you said crack back. So, so yes, there's some people that are, looking for capacity. In other words, I would love to be able to have a caregiver, somebody who's going to deliver excellent chiropractic care and specific chiropractic adjustments, take great care of the people, right?
Yeah.
So that's the person I want to bring on the team because I love to do the business building. I'm going to go out and attract potential new patients. I'm going to convert those new patients. So that's new business development. I just need somebody to help me adjust these patients. There's 200 patients here a week. You could be adjusting them, free up my bandwidth so I can go out and build this business.
Correct.
Right. And then the other end of the spectrum, there's some doctors who are like, yeah, you know what? I would like to just, I'm happy with where my practice is right now. I love to attract, convert, and retain patients, take good care of them. I want to bring in another doctor and strap on some horsepower to this practice. Let them be a business builder. I'm going to create an environment where they can come alongside me and help me save this community. You can go out and attract new patients and convert new patients and build a practice, build this practice or build your own practice inside of our clinic. So that would be more of a business builder. As you can imagine, that's the race car. And on the other side of this continuum, the caregiver is the pickup truck, typically.
Could they possibly make similar incomes based on how busy, say, one clinic is? Because if you're the caregiver, you're like, I'm seeing so many people a week. It's not fair just to get paid $100 a day. Or maybe they're like, wow, I bring in so much money per day. It's crazy, but I don't actually go out and recruit my own patients. That doctor's doing all that hard work. I mean, is there a way to have equal compensation?
Absolutely. Listen, it's the best thing we can do for chiropractic and for humanity is set this model up correctly so that it's a win-win-win. Everybody throws that terminology around, but it has to be a win-win-win or it's unsustainable. And that's going to be really, really expensive, right?
Bitter gets quick.
Yeah, we insist on the win-win-win and we'll teach people exactly how to do it. Believe it or not, our average doctors are in the 80s, 85, 90 plus $1,000 as associate doctors. And the only ones that are happier than them are the owners that hired them because we help them put them in a position where the owner clearly sees, wow, this is incredible ROI for me. I've got them set up in a win-win-win and they're energized by the arrangement and the relationship. And we've put them, that genius, in their spot and everybody wins.
Perfect. Yeah. Because I always wondered about that is when doctors are looking and contacting some coaches to do this. I don't know. Sometimes these coaches are like, we're going to get you a 10x return on this guy and you're not going to have to pay much to him, but he's going to bring in so much money. And then you get bitter and everybody's.
Yeah. What does that sound like?
That don't sound great.
Get rich quick schemes are bad enough, but getting it on the backs of another person who is a chiropractor, a fellow doctor, who probably has a family to raise, has bills to pay as well.
Yeah.
But listen, it's not a win-win. It's a win-win-win, right? It's all about making sure that the owner is the happiest guy in the room. It's because we've got the expectations set right. Their KPIs are set right. I have them trained up and equipped to do this well. And look at that. I've created an opportunity for a great doctor to be a caregiver inside of my business. And at the end of the day, I want 2 or 3 of these people because this is a big win for me.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So 2 questions I want to ask, just so that way the guests know what's going to happen, or the listeners. I'd like to know maybe the top 1 or 2 that most of your clients are struggling with that you can help with. And then we know you're going to have influential guides for yourself. You probably read books. You might even pay your own coach to help you as well.
Of course.
So let's kind of go with that. Like, what are some of the struggles that you're finding most of your clients are you're always having to answer these questions?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've hit on a couple of big ones, right? So 95% of your problems are people problems, right? So that comes right out of Top Grading, which is one of the books I'll recommend. So top grading is the premium, I'll say human resources expert consulting group in the world. They don't like to call it human resources, but people know it by human resources. It's like building teams is top grading. So 95% of our problems are people problems. Most people they have staff issues, meaning CA issues or associate doctor issues. And this is a big derailer, right? So if you don't have the right team member in play, doesn't matter what your other systems are. Like I teach 4 domains of practice success: attraction, conversion, retention, and team building. So attraction is obviously marketing for leads for potential new patients. Conversion is converting that potential new patient into an active new patient. Retention is creating ideal patients and collecting ideal patients. And then team building, which is obviously building a world-class team around you. To be honest with you, that 4th domain was a bit of a blind spot to me as I started my coaching and consulting career, mainly because we've always been really, really fortunate to assemble great teams. That was just the essence of building a business in my mind's eye. But anyway, so I spent the first few years just teaching doctors about attraction, conversion, retention. And I'd be on coaching calls with them, and I'd want to teach them about the awesome systems that we have in place for marketing and for conversion and for retention. And that's what I wanted to teach them. I'm like, just put these systems in place. Here are the systems, processes, procedures, scripting, train your team, blah, blah, blah. And they would say, okay, doc, yeah, but can I ask you a question about my staff? Or, hey, can I talk to you about my associate doctor? Or, hey, I got to talk to you about my office manager. Or my so-and-so just quit, and I would be like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with these people? I'm trying to teach them what they need to know, and all they want to talk about is their people. I laugh at myself.
They're not
now.
implementing.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I can give you all perfect systems, processes, procedures, and scripts. But if you don't have the right people doing it, it's not that it doesn't matter, but it's not going to be nearly as effective if you have the right people in place. So number one, most common stress point, pain point for doctors is they don't know how to build out a remarkable team.
Okay. Because like cluster booking, if you've never cluster booked, you might call it something different. And your staff's never done it, and you've never done it. And all of a sudden, I hire you, and you're like, oh, we got to get 5 people at 9 o'clock. You're like, no, we get 1 person at 9, and and they won't do it. You're like, oh, you got to try to collect 6 visits up front. No, that doesn't sound right to me, and you can't get over that hurdle. You're like, come on.
Yeah, big cultural shifts. I think the second most common problem that I see is I'll see doctors, teams, practices come to me, and they're like, I need more new patients. It's
always new patients.
Yeah, it's always it, right? So let me say this. I love new patients, and I love marketing, and I love attracting new patients. I love referrals. I love external events where you can attract potential new patients. I love digital marketing. I love all that, okay? But I feel like new patients should be about inspiration, not desperation, as DeMartini teaches, right? So it should be on inspiration. You should be trying to build your practice based on your mission and your purpose in your community, not in the desperation of trying to replace the people that are dropping out and leaving your practice. I call those types of new patients replacements, right? So these are people that are just, the filling in the holes in the bucket, right? And that's where most doctors find me. So yeah. I say pause on the questions around marketing. Let's fix your retention system so that your happy patients, your happy clients, your happy customers, your happy practice members, whatever you want to call them, they're sticking around, happy, consuming the value you deliver in your community, and guess what? Referring others just like them, right? So it's all about taking this perspective of, hey, you know what? Let's create ideal patients and let's collect ideal patients, and doing it in a highly deliberate manner. Can I tell you a statistic that's going to absolutely blow your mind?
Yes, because I just wrote a question that might be what you're answering right now.
Our average patient that we started in our practice, we saw them 300 times over their lifetime.
You're gracious.
A 300 patient visit average over their lifetime. And for some people listening to this, they're like, what? It's like, yeah, happy patients stay, pay, and refer. You've heard it since the 50s, right? And it's so true. When you create an environment that builds and creates value, people are like, okay, I found my doctor. I now have a health coach. I have now found a lifestyle success strategy for healthy human beings. This is where I'm going to be, and this is where I'm going to take my family for my health care for life. and they stay on average 300 visits. Think about that.
Is so this is the question I actually had. You have a client, they've been with you, say, 6 months. Is there like sort of a global retention rate that you're hoping to get? Like you get 30 new patients, 50% will stick around every 4 to 6 weeks. They might pop in or whatever, the maintenance, wellness, lifestyle. I mean, is there a number that you shoot for?
Absolutely. I'm definitely a numbers guy. We have a whole program called Vital Signs that we use to track all the metrics of the practice. And, I'm speaking from a place of respect for people's clinicals and clinical application and also their philosophical belief, right? Mm-hmm. So I believe that people should get their spine and nervous system checked regularly because life is stressful. Modern life is highly unnaturally stressful. It's toxic, deficient, and people should be getting checked and seeing their health coach regularly in my world.
Is that weekly, or what does that mean?
I check my family weekly. I adjusted my kids this morning before they left for work, right? I get checked weekly, and my wife just adjusted me. So I recommend wellness care if your objective is to get healthier and stronger throughout life. I'm 50 years old. I'm in the best shape of my life. I surf around the world at the top of my game, and by the grace of God, I am healthy as a horse. And I know that it's because since I was 16 years old, I've been under regular chiropractic care. I've had my spine and nervous system checked every week since I was 20. That's a pretty good run. 30 years without missing a week.
That's good.
And the proof is in the pudding, right? So we've raised just these beautiful, healthy, happy children. My children have not had as much as an aspirin, with the exception of my son, who had an emergency surgery on his knee. So other than that, the proof is in the pudding. Taking care of your body proactively, stay healthy. So yeah, regular care is definitely what I advocate, and not randomly, but on a schedule. Get checked. If you need to be adjusted, get adjusted. If you don't need to be adjusted, don't be adjusted that day. So yeah, I love the idea of wellness care. I love the idea of maintenance care and not waiting for symptoms.
Is that set up like a membership each month when they just come in that often?
I love that term. Yeah. So a wellness maintenance membership club. Absolutely. Patients are happy to pay for that. They know, just like a concierge level doctor, you see the MDs do it now. You subscribe and, I'm your chiropractor who put you on a schedule, wellness care or maintenance care, and you get checked and get adjusted when you need it.
In a sense, if they're paying a fee, they don't feel obligated. Like if I go in, I have to get adjusted. It's like, no, we're going to check you, see where you're at. If you need it, you get it. If you don't, see you next week. And there's no obligatory there. And if you miss a week or two, you still can make it up.
Even more importantly, people are not making decisions based on money anymore, right? So two things happen. When people have to pay per service every time they're there, they may say to themselves, yeah, I'm having a really stressful week. I should get my spine checked. Or, hey, my kids are fighting something. I should get my spine checked, get adjusted so my immune system's boosted. Or, man, I woke up this morning stiff or sore, or I had a rough time skiing this weekend. I should really go in and get adjusted. But I don't want to spend $50 or $60. So let me just wait and see how it goes. So next thing you know, they're managing their health based on what they want to spend that day. My patients never think about that. They're on an electronic funds transfer, $100 a month. They can get checked twice a month, every other week, every 14 days, get checked, get adjusted when they need it. There's never a money question. And then on the other side of it, the doctor's not making a decision what a person should get based on what they think they'll go for financially. Gosh, that's not a leadership position, and that's totally out of integrity. If I were to take care of you, Justin, and you're my patient, I'm not going to be sitting there in the back of my head being like, geez, he should get adjusted more often, but I don't think he's going to go for it. I don't think he'll pay the money. What a terrible place to lead from. That's totally out of integrity in my world. So, ultimately the goal is to determine what is a person's health goals, do objective testing, and the objective test will tell you exactly what they need to do to get what they want. Get them, make sure that they fully understand and appreciate what that is. If they're committed to that, then they'll move forward with it. And then your job is just to be their great doctor.
So I want to follow up with this. Are the patients becoming reliant on you, just like they tell us, don't e-stem somebody 20 times in a row because they're just going to get reliant on that machine when they should be having a more active role in their health? So when they come in twice a month, do you ever feel like that's they're relying too much on you and they should be able to be at the gym taking care of some of this stuff?
At the gym, right? So they should be at the gym. They should be working out. I like to say you only have to work out on the days that you eat, right? So you only have to exercise on the days that you eat, right? I'm a natural guy, right? So what would you do in nature? You'd hunt and gather. right? You'd chase down your lunch before you ate it, right? You'd have to carry firewood and water, right? So things have changed quite a bit. So yeah, you only have to exercise on the days that you eat. So absolutely, they should be working out, right? But if I said to you that, hey, you don't have to work out anymore because you get adjusted, would that make sense to you?
Not to me.
So why would, if I said to somebody, if you work out now, you don't need to get adjusted anymore? That
Very
doesn't
good.
make sense either, right?
Good.
Or if you said you eat right now, so you don't have to exercise, or you exercise now, so you don't have to eat right, or you exercise now, so you don't have to sleep well, or you sleep well, so now you don't have to watch your thought life anymore, and you got your thought life good, so you don't have to exercise, right? So these are just components, they're facets of a wellness lifestyle. So none of them replace each other; they're integrated and they complement one another. Good. So do my patients rely on me? No, but I think they rely on good chiropractic care to make sure that their spine and nervous system is optimized, functioning without any interference, so that their body can cope with and adapt to the stressors that they're inevitably facing in modern life. So they know that their nervous system is a system that, that this is how we experience life, through our nervous system. Yeah. And your nervous system controls how we adapt, cope readily and appropriately to the stressors that we inevitably face in modern life. And it's actually the definition of health and wellness, is the body's ability to adapt readily and appropriately to stress. So I think they rely on us for good direction as to how they should live their life to be healthy, and to adjust them and remove any interference in the nervous system.
Yeah, because that's obviously going to be an objection that you're going to have to handle between haters, patients who just don't get it, and other chiropractors who are like, I'm totally against this. And you're like, well, yeah, you shouldn't be, but maybe you can figure out how to make it work for you.
Right? The evidence-based conversation. It's like, well, to be honest with you, if you're current on the evidence now is talking about the relationship between the brain and chiropractic, right? So nowadays it's all about the brain, right?
So we're going to switch gears, because you mentioned it in the beginning of the episode, and that's a big part of our podcast is the personal part, the spouse, the vacation. So it sounds like you kind of got a good handle on this. You're obviously teaching people about this, but we work a lot, especially for yourself. You're probably going on weekends. You said you're going to go to Australia this month or next month, and that's going to obviously take up a lot of time. So how is a regular doctor who works Monday through Friday typically, or Monday through Thursday, able to take more vacation and spend maybe more time with their friends and family?
I think that's a great question. And, ultimately when you hear me say it's about creating a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, right? Not instead of one, it all comes down to, what is your definition of success? My pastor said something once that I love to repeat over and over again, which is, be really careful how you define success, because you're going to spend a lifetime pursuing it. So I want to make sure that these doctors, they just take pause and say, what is your vision of success, right? What's your vision story? What's success look like for you? And what's it look like for you and for your family? That's called your vision story, right? And that vision story should be an expression of your core values, which is what are most important to you and to your spouse, if you're married, or partner, if you share life with somebody, right? So at the end of the day, it comes down to really having that awareness of what's really most important to you and your spouse and to your family. Those are your core values. Making sure that your vision of success, like what success looks like for you, like what are you trying to create, and what is happiness, joy, fulfillment? What does that look like to you if you were to describe it to me? Making sure those things are aligned. And then that last piece, making sure that your behaviors are aligned. In other words, your schedule and the design for your business and for your life are aligned with those core values and that vision story. If you have that level of awareness, you can slip and check yourself and be like, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to let other people project on me what success looks like or sounds like, or I know what it feels like, and it's based on my core values and my vision story. So once you have that in place, then you can audit yourself and say, okay, so how do I spend my time, energy, focus, and money? Is that in line with my vision story and my core values? The person who's able to keep an eye on that, not get it perfect, but keep an eye on that and making sure that they are consistently auditing themselves and being like, okay, so how am I doing with that? Am I running this aligned life? Like, people talk about balance, and forgive my French, but I think balance is bullshit. I think it's a terrible goal, right? So at the end of the day, if you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, or you're a doctor or caregiver on any level, and you're really trying to make an impact in the world, you're going to be out of balance in your life, right? So there's going to be a time when you're wildly out of balance, right? So I think balance is a terrible goal, because I think it's really unachievable. unless you get terribly selfish and you just become very inward focused on yourself and try to get perfect balance and everything. I think balance is a very good reference point, and it should be used the way a sailor uses a horizon, which is you keep an eye on the horizon and use it as a reference point, but the goal is never to get to the horizon, right? It's a reference point. So at the end of the day, balance is a terrible goal, but a great reference point. I think harmony is a better goal.
Yeah. Because this is what I was thinking. Let's say you make, $300,000 a year and you want to make 800 and you're already spending, you're not efficient with your time. You're not efficient with your family. You're kind of always gone or something. So your spouse will be like, no, let's just back it up. We don't need that extra money. In fact, if you could reduce the money so that you're actually home more, balance would be restored. Or, however you want to, like I said, you don't like the word balance, but the harmony is restored. And like I said, I think especially if you have a spouse you need to have those conversations. What is your goal? Do you need to see me 20 hours a week? Or do you just want like really good quality time? Like if you had a solid hour of amazing quality time per day, I could work another 5 hours.
That's a really good reference. Okay. So, it can be quantified, but it's usually just more qualified, right? So, when you come together as a couple, for example, or as a team, so even if you're speaking to your children, you can say to yourself, listen, at this point in our lives, we're doing this initiative, we're doing this project, or we're building out this new practice, or we're adding a new doctor, or we're going to be building our house together, or whatever it is. If you have the conversation established already, these are our core values. This is our vision story, what success looks like to us as a family. Now let's have a conversation around these next 90 days or next 3 months or whatever it is. Guys, we're going to be a bit out of balance here, and here. Is everybody okay with that? Because it's in the name of some worthwhile work, or it's in the name of this initiative. And you have this healthy conversation going on, and everybody's in agreement. It's time-based. It's transparent. That's where you can achieve harmony. And there's no infighting. You're not fighting each other about it, right? So the key to it is the communication and the agreement, and then having integrity around the timeline.
Love it. Spouses, what's one way that you are able to keep the love alive and feel connected?
Oh man, I scratched the winning lottery ticket. I just married the right girl.
Just an adjustment a week and she's happy.
Guys, I'm a handful, man. I'm a handful. I'm a full-time job. No question about it. No, certainly. My wife is the grace that she extends me. She's very flexible. But really it's because we share a purpose, right? So we're very purpose-driven people. And she's as on purpose as I am. And we have not a perfect yin and yang, but we're very complementary to each other, right? So our strengths are complementary to each other. And I'm, first and foremost, I'm a Christian guy. So, that's my first role in the world. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a friend. So I'm a person before I'm a professional, right? So, but in my professional life, I'm a doctor, I'm a leader, I'm a speaker, I'm a teacher, a trainer, an author, a coach, right? So I've got a lot of roles that I play in the world. And she plays the role of guardrails for me. Like she's a world-class mom and a world-class wife and a world-class daughter and a world-class friend, on top of being a doctor, a teacher, a speaker, so on top of those things. So she helps keep it on the rails. And she'll call me on it, a little rib check every now and then to make sure that, it's, the family focus comes first, which is, I appreciate that. Just like my role is to keep us focused on productivity and, advancing our businesses. So when we've both agreed that that's our mutual role. So, my relationship with Camilla is a good example of 1 + 1 = 11.
That's awesome. Last two. It's popular right now. Somebody has either a morning routine or a lunch routine that grounds them and gets them excited for the rest of the day. Do you have any one of those you'd like to share for us?
I'm a good guy to ask. Yeah, morning rituals is what it's all about. It's one of the most an original coach back in the day, Dr. C.J. Mertz, really had a big impact on me with teaching me about morning rituals, and I just so appreciate him for that. Which I was sleeping in. I was staying up late at night, sleeping in. I used to start seeing patients at 9:30 in the morning. And, by the time our, practice at its peak, we'd see 100 patients by 9:30 in the morning because we'd start seeing patients at 6:45 in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah. And I live in a different state from where I practice. So imagine that. Yeah. We saw a lot of patients, but it was incredibly well organized and orchestrated, great systems, awesome team, multiple doctors. So we had quite an operation going. But you asked about morning rituals. You have to have an extraordinary set of morning rituals before you can show up in the office and see 100 patients before 9:30 in the morning, right? So I would get up way too early. Now that I've studied the science of sleep and the repercussions of sleep deprivation, especially years of it, I would have done things differently. But looking back, I was up by 4:30, and my rituals are straightforward. So I pray before I get out of bed. I get into a state of gratitude for the beautiful family that I have, a wonderful wife laying next to me, and just a great life. It's easy to get in gratitude, frankly. I appreciate the wins as much as I appreciate the challenges and the lessons learned. I put my feet on the floor, the old classic right foot, left foot. Thank you. I love starting my day with that. Thank you as my feet hit the ground. And I do the prayer of Jabez before I get out of bed, which is, Lord, bless me indeed, expand my territory, guide me with your hand, keep me from trouble. Right? It's a great way to start your day. So I get up, go hit that coffee maker, let my dog out, and I have my cup of coffee. I grab the Bible. I grab something professional that I'm reading. I grab my journal. I grab my to-do list. I have 2 to-do lists, today and this week. And I grind through those to-do lists. I do my reading. I do my writing. I do my checklists. I have my second cup of coffee. I love coffee. Play with my dog a little bit. Then the kids come down, so I play with the kids. We get a nutritious breakfast in and make sure the kids get their green smoothies before they leave for school. 3 days a week, I get to drive my son to his school and my daughter to her school. So kind of splitting duties there, get them to, carpool, that sort of thing. It was a wonderful way to start the day. I used to have to jet down to Boston to go to the practice, but now we've sold the practice. I don't do that anymore. So I get to take the kids to school, which is awesome. Then I coach all day long. I do podcasts like this. I create videos, etc. And I'm off to the races. So there's my morning rituals. And by 7 o'clock in the morning, I've already had an awesome day.
I say you've accomplished more by 7 than most people accomplish by noon.
That's the big idea, right? So if you're hyper productive by 8, 9 in the morning, the rest of the day you don't feel so frenetic and stressed. It leaves you room to do everything else creative.
Okay, books, blogs, podcasts. What do you go for these days? What are you recommending?
I've been just taking in more and more content online, but let's talk about books because I don't think people talk about books enough anymore. 3 books I would have doctors read right now. I love the book The One Thing. It's very good. I love the book Essentialism. Was probably my favorite, and I love the book Traction.
Okay.
Yeah, Gino Wickman's book Traction.
Check on Amazon, people. You can find them.
Yeah.
Okay. The question everybody wants to know: where can we find you? Facebook, website. Lay it on us.
Yes, and yes. You'll find me everywhere. So it's Stephen Franson, Franson. Stephen Franson with The Remarkable Practice. You'll find me about theremarkablepractice.com. So theremarkablepractice.com. Facebook. You can find that as a website. And on Instagram, I'm Dr. Stephen F, Dr. Stephen F. So Stephen with a PH. So Dr. Stephen F. Let's see, how else can you find me? You'll see my book coming out in March. The Remarkable Practice book is coming out, the definitive guide to creating the remarkable practice. So that'll be coming out. So keep your eyes open for that. But yeah, if you just Google The Remarkable Practice, you're going to find me everywhere. And then also for people who are looking to hire either associate doctors or CAs, staff people, you can also find me at Chiro Matchmakers. So chiromatchmakers.com. My
Very
partners.
nice.
Alan Miner, Mark Mao, Sheila Mao, correct. You'll find us at Chiro Matchmakers.
Okay. I completely butchered your first name earlier then.
Oh, no, everybody
I think I put an F in there.
So, yeah, Stephen Franson. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Hey,
no worries at all.
This is a fantastic hour. I'm pretty sure people are having questions in their head, like, oh my gosh, I got to contact this guy or follow him on Facebook before I make a decision. So really,
yeah, it's easy. If you have any questions for me, you can message me on Facebook. People do that all the time. So just reach out to me on Facebook, Stephen Franson, or go to The Remarkable Practice. But if you can go right to Stephen Franson and you can message me, I'm very good with that. So I'll message you right back, or you can message me on Instagram as well at Dr. Stephen F.
Love it. All right, man. Thank you so much for being on.
Hey, thanks for asking me, guys. God bless, guys. So remember, what the work that you do is incredibly important and very, very worthwhile. You're making a bigger impact on the people in your community and humanity as a whole. So why not be remarkable? So remember that today. Like everything you do, try to be remarkable.
Well, that wraps up another episode. I want to remind everybody that we have some great affiliate links available. If you're into instrument-assisted soft tissue manipulation, we've got the Edge tool and we got the Hawk grips. Saves you about 10%. Also with the Edge, you've got the blood pressure cuff restriction system. You've got the G Suite inexpensive EMR in case you'd like doing cash practice. If you want to know what hosting I use for podcasting, it's Blueberry. Pure VPN, that's one of those ones I use to help keep my payments secure as well as access the internet more safely. You've got the Primal Paleo grass-fed protein, bone broth style. Save 10% on that. No sugar, allergy-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, all those types of things. Mentor box, get taught by the author. We got set for those floss bands that you may have heard about on one of the episodes. I really like those. Any Amazon products that you might want, click the link in the show notes pages. And of course, I got my own electric acupuncture pin to go with the no needle acupuncture book. From time to time, I'll have a bundle set where you can get them all together for a great price. I also have the free downloads at doctorsperspective.net/blueprints. And what lately I've been doing is substituting a fifth one. Like I've done a knee, and depending on the guest, I might do a different type. So check back there. So all those resources can be found at doctorsperspective.net/resources. There's also t-shirts at .net/t-shirts. Put up some new designs from time to time, like making lemons out of lemonade, shrimp po' boy, plus all the chiropractic and podcast swag that you could want. If you have any ideas for guests, please send me an email, justin@doctorsperspective.net. I'd love to hear who you think would be good or a profession that you may not have heard yet. If you can, send me a review. That's .net/subscribe, Apple, Google, Stitcher, Android devices. You just click that button. It'll take you exactly to the page you need to. You can write a review, hopefully a 5-star review. Like I said, it does help for other people to discover what we're doing here. And we've got over 100 episodes. This is going to be like our third year. Super excited. We're going to have a little mini-series like we've been doing, which has been fun. Hope you've enjoyed them as well. That's the feedback I've gotten. And one thing I haven't really talked about too much is a doctorsperspective.net/support page. If you want to host a cup of coffee, go for it. If you want to pledge a little higher fee, there's buttons for that. There's even monthly recurring for those who feel like, wow, this is like the cheapest mentor coach program I've ever seen because you interview so many different kinds of doctors and I've been able to implement things that I've heard and it works. So monthly recurring payments, which also can get you my books for free, t-shirts for free, the first book, that deals with health and exercise, getting on a diet, getting your financial health in order as well, things I've learned in China. That book is available as well. And one thing that I don't have like a full-blown page about coaching and things, but there's a little button there. I've had people request, hey, doctors and non-doctors asking me, can I do more than just answer a couple of questions? Or could you be my coach for a little while? And I say, yeah, we can do that. So it's something I haven't really advertised, but it's something that I can do, whether it's marketing, some strategies for new patients, growth, those types of topics. If you're interested, just email me, justin@doctorsperspective.net. As always, listen, critically think, and implement. Have a great week. We just went #behind the curtain. I hope you will listen and integrate what some of these guests have said. By all means, please share it across your social media, write a review, and if you go to the show notes page, you can find all the references for today's guest. You've been listening to Dr. Justin Trosclair, giving you a doctor's perspective.